Good morning or good afternoon, or whenever you guys look at this. My name is Tiffany Bug, and I'm here to present you my prospective intervention plan for the school that I had looked up and evaluated over the course of the last week with the other assignment. Okay, so just a little bit of background knowledge on the school that I had chosen. This school has performed very, very low for numerous of years, despite the interventions and strategies that they've used at the school. So here I have a couple of three research-based strategies that I feel like this school should implement in all of their classrooms. And then the school, and I'm looking at my notes. If you see me look down, I'm looking at my notes. And this school is in a rural area where the socioeconomic, they're living. I don't, not in poverty, but they're living in a neighborhood. Well, the school is in a neighborhood or in a city that isn't poor, but it's a low income city. So the instructional needs that the school that I have chosen, and it could be for math, science, that the school has performed low in literacy, math, science, compared to other schools in the county or in the district. Excuse me. And also in the state, they perform very, very low. Like they were 6 out of 7 in the they are 6 out of 7 in the district. Okay, so some instructional needs that the school should implement is explicit instruction, educational resources, better performance, and monitor performance, because the school is performing at an extremely low level. So 1 out of 3 research-based strategies that I have chosen is reading interest inventory, or RII, and this allows students and teachers to get to know each other a little bit better. Teachers get to determine the reading styles of and interests of students. Students get to work more together. Students get to express their favorite things, and it can be incorporated into the lessons. And teachers find it helpful to use this because it also gives teachers an idea of the things that they like and things that should be incorporated in the classroom to have better grades in the classroom. And to continue, it establishes a relationship with teachers and students. It gets students to engage with each other more, and it also motivates them to learn and continue to learn, because if students are sitting and they're learning about things that they don't really care about, like they're not interested in it. So it's important for teachers and students to sit and talk about things that may be interesting and then incorporate it into the lesson. Oh, and also it improves reading and confidence in students, and it also targets the areas that students need. Informal reading inventory, or IRI, is another one that I chose, and it has many components to reading, and I don't even have all of them listed, but I listed a few. Print concepts, phonological awareness, phonemic awareness, and fluency and word recognition. All is important, especially with a third grade, and I chose third grade to work with. Third grade, it is important for all grades to be aware of these things, but especially with those grades that have EOGs and have benchmarks and readings and things that they have to do on their own, because this is a state test. They have to do it on their own. So it's important to give them all of the skills that are necessary to be successful in reading. To continue, I found it very interesting with IRIs. Normally with IRIs, students are given a word list, and it could be based on a grade level or a grade level that a teacher feels comfortable with setting them with. And let's say with third grade, if I give them a third grade list or a third grade passage or whatever, and students are struggling with it, then they'll have to go down a grade. And if students are okay with it, they can stick with it. Or if they're doing absolutely incredible and you feel like they can go up a grade or they can go up a work level, then that's what they do. And this is kind of like what am I trying to say? This is kind of like differentiating as well. And then with IRI, students receive several passages, whether it is read orally or whether it's read silently. And as I mentioned, with with orally, teachers are able to listen closely and determine if they're pronouncing words right, or if they're missing syllables, or if they're missing letter sounds, how fluent they are in reading, how well they are reading overall. And then the silent part would be basically good for those that are taking EOGs, especially third through fifth grade in elementary school, when they take the EOGs and they have to read silently and do all those things on their own. And then, as I already mentioned, teachers determine how consistent they are in reading and if they're missing any pronounced words or missing any words in general. Response to intervention, or RTI. This has several reading. This specific intervention was studied to be for those that are struggling in reading and have reading disabilities, or reading disabilities. RIT is tier instructed, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Tier 1 would be teaching a lesson or a skill as a whole class. Tier 2 would be for those that may need to do more of a small group setting to get more information and for them to be successful in whatever skill that's being taught. And tier 3 is for the most intensive instruction. Those are for the ones that are having difficulties in general. And then RTI supports students that are struggling, and this is also differentiated instruction. To continue, it measures students' learning disability and how they respond to the strategies that teachers are teaching. Students receive quality core instruction. Teachers should monitor and document students' progress throughout the whole entire year. RTI is not just something that is used only one time. You can use this throughout the whole entire year to determine the growth, and this is why I chose this one to speak on a little bit more. RTI should be started. Teachers should have some things that are documented to determine the abilities or anything that a teacher feels like they need to have more instruction on. Many students require intensive intervention, so this will be a great one, especially for the school that I had studied. Response to intervention, justification of implementation. So this is the one that I chose to expound on a little bit. And in the past, I believe I already stated this, but in the past, RTI was used for students with learning disabilities. But researchers has shown us that it can be used for all students and not just for those that have learning disabilities. It's very beneficial to all students. And in the past, Individualized Disability Act, it was in the Disability Act, and originally it was meant to determine how well students are doing in the classroom. So as I already mentioned, it has 3 levels, or 3 tiers, tier 1, 2, and 3. 3 being the most highly intensive, 2 being small group instruction, and then 1 students will be performing well and they don't need all those things. Not saying that they don't need small group instruction or intensive instruction, but students that are in tier 1 are typically performing well enough. Schools and districts that are performing at a low rate would benefit from this. Since the school that I chose is in North Carolina, I looked up the cost for North Carolina, a district in North Carolina, and then the cost to implement this will be $960, and then I actually calculated it. The school has about 300 students, so per student it'll be not even $300. I think I calculated that right. I'm sorry, I didn't calculate that right. It'll be a little under $3,000 in my notes. It'll be a little under $3,000 for each school. So it's really not. It's expensive, but it's really not, because some schools or districts should already have things like this in place, and because all schools need classroom materials to teach. So a lot of students need classroom materials in the classroom. In order to be successful, you can't put them in the classroom with nothing, no type of materials. They need materials, so materials need to be bought. Lastly, students should get weekly observations, and I think I've already mentioned that too. Each student will have each student will be provided quality instruction, and then more if necessary, and students and teachers will monitor students and help them wherever they need help and more explicit instruction. And then it's important, like my last bullet, it's important for teachers to actually sit down with their students and get a plan together and determine what also needs to be done and what the student has in them on their mind as well, because it's important. Because it's important to actually sit down with students as well to get their feedback. It's important to have student feedback. Timeline and implementation plan. So we all know that there are 9 weeks in a whole school year. They receive benchmarks, they receive EOGs, other type of testing, and all of that boils down to how they're growing. So really it's all about their growth. So the first 9 weeks I would observe students and give them daily instruction, determine where they need help, document their strengths and their weaknesses, whether their strengths would be sight words, but their weaknesses would be reading the whole passage by themselves. Second 9 weeks, blending sound, they should be learning at least 10 sight words or guided reading. Third 9 weeks, they should add on more sight words, more reading. Fourth 9 weeks, they should be headed into the end of the year with fluent reading. Students gain more confidence and push to their level. They should be you should focus on reading accuracy and fluency, small group instruction or individualized instructions. Students should have daily work in small group with the teacher or on their own or even with another student. It doesn't have to be always with the teacher. One-on-one sessions, explicit reading or math instruction. Students can benefit from opportunities that they receive, at home materials too. So it's important to have materials sent home as well. Training and professional development. Professional development is important for teachers to have at least 3 a year. Professional development helps students and it guides students, teachers in the classroom, bring in learning strategies as well as effective teaching and strategies. And I have a list of just some teaching strategies that I've used, and then also brings awareness to teachers in their classroom. Evaluation plan. That's my evaluation plan. RIT helps students to learn, teachers learn reading styles, because not all students read the same.